Hey everyone, welcome to another FUMBBL Podcast. Number 4, actually. Can you believe it? Number 4 already. I've got Morehouse and PC here with me again.
Hey guys.
Good evening.
Yeah. So, good start as always. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get straight into it with a race focus. And this episode's race focus is lizard men. So, do you play them or not?
I play them a little bit. I will say that for a relative non-lizard man player, I probably have a bit of insight as one of my best friends, Bazakastine, I would say is probably the best lizard man player in the world, and I've probably watched 100 of his games. So I've played him many times, unfortunately, and lost most of them with his lizards. So I know a little bit about the race. I don't play them that much myself. Do you play them, PC?
I've dabbled a little bit. There's almost no race I haven't, but I've only dabbled a little bit. I find them incredibly frustrating. I want to be brilliant with them. I think they are a brilliant race, but I just can't get it to work. I don't know, maybe I need to come back to it again now that my risk management is better, but something about it just didn't chime with me and I couldn't get them running right. That said, they are one of my most feared opponents on tabletop particularly, but they vary hugely across the formats.
Yeah, they do. Go on, Morehouse.
Yeah, I think something that always kind of strikes me about them is that I think they're one of those teams that sort of anybody can pick up and do okay, but to do really well with them is very tricky, if that makes sense. They're an okay beginner team because they got speed and strength, and you can kind of it's sort of obvious what you want to do with them on a base level. The Sauruses block, the Skinks run the ball. But playing them at a really high level against good opponents, it can get really tricky. It's hard to protect the Skinks. The Sauruses, or Saurai, depending on how you like to pronounce that, are not versatile themselves. Unless they have break tackle, they can't really dodge. They can't pick up the ball. So they're kind of a strange team. I think they're a team with a lot of potential, but they're one that's a little bit tricky to play right. And I kind of I agree with PC that I never quite feel comfortable playing them. I win some games and everything, but I never quite feel like I'm getting it right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same, really. I've had a couple of semi-successful lizard men teams, and they are a pretty good start off with, I think, because, like you say, you've got the strength, you can hold the line, but it is hard to protect the Skinks, and they've got one of the best big guys in the game with the Crocs.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's awesome. He may be the best. Certainly, arguably, you can't have a conversation about the best big guy without discussing and dismissing him along the way. He's just fantastic. He comes with a tail. He's got incredible armor. He's strong, obviously. He's got incredible speed.
And it's only Bonehead, isn't it? So
it's only Bonehead. It's the best nega trait. So he's absolutely fantastic as a big guy.
Yeah.
6 Sauruses is epic. It means you've got 7 strength 4 or 5 on the pitch, which is usually enough to hold the entire pitch. If you really want to, you can hold the entire width of a pitch with those 7 guys. And then 4 Skinks at minimum to do your ball handling. And yes, they're rubbish at throwing it, and they're not that brilliant at picking it up, but they're incredibly fast. And they have agility 3, and they come with stunty, and they come with dodge. I mean, it's almost like they're cheating. However, they really vary across the formats. They're monstrous on tabletop in tournaments where you can dump the skills exactly where you want and need them. I got thrashed by them, totally outplayed and thrashed in a recent tabletop tournament for only my 3rd loss when competing for the title. But I don't want to foreshadow where we're going later. They did it with 3 block. They did it with 3 block lizards and 2 break tackle lizards.
Yeah, and break tackle is an important skill to have.
And it gave them enough hitting, and it meant they could destroy me all over the pitch. But obviously, in a league, you're probably building them largely through touchdowns, and that means probably your Skinks. And also in tournaments, you've got to protect those Skinks. And also, they're very liable, particularly at high TV, to 1 or 2 Sauruses going out, and suddenly it all starts to fall apart.
Yeah, it can do. I always find that playing with humans is really difficult against lizards.
Yeah, I bet, because you've got the speed to catch things, the mobility to get in round the back, and you can take a few hits.
Yeah, I think the thing that sticks out to me about them is that I think if you break teams down into sort of agility, bash, and hybrid, like people do, try to 3 different styles of Blood Bowl, I think almost every team in the game really breaks down into bash or agility if you really get down to it, what they're really designed to do, just to varying degrees of success.
Yep.
But I think lizards are one of the few that are legitimately a hybrid. I mean, you can play them very, very bashy if you have really good sources with a lot of Mighty Blow. If you have a bunch of agility skinks, you can play them almost like an elf team up and down and score a lot of touchdowns. And I mentioned my buddy Baza is a really good lizard player, and I think his best trait as a player is that he has really good judgment on when to slow down and when to speed up, when to stall and when not to stall. And I think that makes you a good lizard coach, because they can do either one, but knowing when to do each one is tough with them, and that's kind of what makes you a master with that team.
They are incredibly fast, and I include the Croxigor in that. I mean, they are just lightning fast. Strength 4 moving at 6. And to have 6 of them capable of doing it. And that's before you get to the skinks, who, can't be outpaced by just about anything short of a gutter runner. So they're just wherever they want to be, they will be there. And if they've got break tackle to give them the mobility on the Sauruses, then they'll be there whenever they want. You can base them, but of course they're strength 4. Now, when they're starting out and early on in leagues, that does mean they're going to eat re-rolls, because without block, every block is a risk, even at strength 4. So there are things you can do to limit their mobility, but once they get to high TV, it's very hard even to limit their mobility. And if you base them, they'll have hitting skills. So you need to be really careful as you face them.
Yeah, when the Sauruses get developed, the lizard teams become very, very difficult to stop at high team value. And the counterpoint of that, of course, is like you mentioned, if you're in a tournament, if you enter with, all 6 Sauri skilled up to 76 or higher, and you're in a great shape, you can take a couple injuries and all of a sudden you have 2 huge holes in the team where your good players used to be. So that can be a bit of a downside. But that's any team to some extent. But they really do suffer from specific targeted injuries to the good players that they have.
Definitely, where they tend to shine, as I said, is in NAF tournaments, because
that makes sense.
You get 1100 to build your team, so you can get all 6 Sauruses and the Crocs and 4 or maybe 5 Skinks, a couple of rerolls, and then you can plop those skills down exactly where you need them.
Yep.
So, then if they don't fail picking up the ball, they're incredibly hard to stop. Wood elves take them to pieces, but
sure,
they outbash dwarves with their strength. They outbash orcs with their mobility and strength. Even lesser elves, they can get past them. But obviously, war dancers can get into the skinks and take the ball away very simply.
Sure.
So all these positives, though, all these positives, not always necessarily a beginner's team, though.
Oh, definitely not.
No, they can be tough. All the things we're talking about, there's a counterpoint to everything in the game. You many times will see a not very experienced Lizardman player not protect his skinks, and all of a sudden he's got no skinks on the pitch and no one to pick up the ball, even if it drops. There's a lot of things that could happen. Getting your Sauruses all tied up on linemen, things like that. If you don't have break tackle yet, that can be a weakness.
And just hitting, lots and lots of hitting.
Yeah.
And time and again, you'll see newer players with lizard men, particularly newer lizard men, re-rolling blocks. And every time you think, okay, that's an error that's going to happen later, because they are going to fail some blocks, and particularly before they've got a block. And the skinks are going to fail the occasional dodge or fail the occasional pickup. So the re-rolls, particularly when you're starting lizards out, you want to try and suck those up by basing them and making them hit you.
Yep.
If you've got anything that you think can stand that. If you haven't, then it's about mobility, obviously.
Sure, and they can struggle versus elves. Agile teams, especially if they have strip ball. It's tough to get sure hands on a skink. It's really tough to get block and sure hands on a skink, so they can struggle a little bit with teams that are real good at tagging the ball. Wood elves, obviously, as you mentioned, are the main one, but at higher team value, dark elves and high elves and pro elves will often have strip ball players too, which can be tough for them.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I mean, the other one of the great solutions to the problem of skink carrying is, of course, touchbacks always go to one of the Sauruses or Sauri. I don't care.
I think I've used both.
I just don't care.
Me neither.
So it's one of the great arguments for having kick on every squad, and when you're facing Lizardmen, is it's one of the last teams you really want to give a touchback to.
Sure.
Yeah, I certainly struggle against Lizardmen, but I'm not the greatest coach in the world. You don't want to hear that, PC, obviously, when we get to January, but I've got time to improve. So, moving on to our tournament focus then, I wanted to quickly just kind of bring up Royal Rookie Rumbles and Bar Brawls before we move on to something else to do with tournaments. They're minor tournaments, they're FUMBBL minor tournaments, but I like them because anyone can get involved. The Royal Rookie Rumble, just to explain what it is to people out there, it is for rookie teams, not for rookie coaches. You can be a rookie coach and apply, obviously, but it's for rookie teams. And it's a knockout, and I think, is it 3 rounds? It is, isn't it? Yeah, it will be. And
4 rounds.
4 rounds, yeah, sorry, excuse me. Yeah,
16.
4 rounds, yeah, 16, yeah. So you've got 4 rounds, and you would get quite a few different coaches applying for that. I know Battle Law, who runs it, he's always advertising on FUMBBL, if you're interested. What are your views on Royal Rookie Rumbles? Been in them, won them?
I've won one, I think, a very long time ago. I've been in a few. I like high team value a little better, so they're not really for me. But I do think they're really cool for people who want to play in a tournament but don't have a ton of time or don't play open play a lot and don't have built up teams. They're almost similar to like an NAF event where you can just have a team and just go. They're not Resurrection, obviously, like an NAF event, but it is, young teams starting from their first game. So you don't really need any preparation games or you can't have any preparation games. You don't really need to do anything to get ready other than make a team. So for people who have a little less time or prefer the low team value game, I think they're real good for that.
One of the great features of them, obviously, is that you're going to play a team who, unless there's a forfeit, which is horrible, but they do happen, you're going to face a team who has exactly as many games played as you. So they've had the same chance. I mean, in case, they may have played Halflings, whereas you played Chaos, or Dwarves, or Norse, or Amazon, something horrific at low TV. But technically, everyone that goes into it starts with the same, 1,000 TV rookie team and the same chance, and 4 games later, one of the 16 has won. I think there's a prize. It used to be several hundred gold pieces. I'm not sure if that's still relevant now that gold is less relevant a thing. Yes, do I play them? Well, according to the new, what's his name? Sizebirth Adam?
Yes.
Sizebirth Adam?
Yeah.
But the fantastic sort of co-conspirator who's been trying to help out, I know. His new SR rankings have actually moved on to FUMBBL. They're a ranking system he invented himself, mainly based on tournaments and tournament performance. And they've now got space and are hosted on FUMBBL. And one of the new features he's got on there is the Royal Rookie Rumble Masters, which is a list of everyone that's won or been a finalist in a Royal Rookie Rumble. And on his listings, I am 6th on the list. I have won 10 of them with 10 different races. Nice. So you get it's only about different races. If you win 10 with Dwarves, you don't get 10 points there. At least I don't think you do.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm aware that people, like C. Dasak he had a
second highest on the list.
Yeah, well, he had a thing going that he wanted to win an Royal Rookie Rumble with every single race. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm in it for that. I mean, I've got 10 of them with 10 different races, but I'm not sure I'm in it to necessarily get every single race.
Yeah, I don't know how far he got down the line. I haven't spoken to him for a while, but I know that was his plan.
I have, actually. I think he's at like 21. He told, because I kind of adopted his idea. and
he's not. Vaclav is the top of the list. He's got...
Go ahead.
He's got 12 wins and a further 7 finalists, but lost. Because Dasak is second with 12 wins, but only 1 losing finalist. So they're both halfway in terms of number of races. But
maybe he was talking about all his tournaments combined.
Yeah. I mean, some people there were at least other formats on FUMBBL that allowed you to enter rookie teams, and obviously there's formats that allow you to enter other races.
Sure, sure.
Interestingly, you can also tell just by looking down the list, whether one has been won by a certain race. There is, for example, a win in the column for halflings.
Yep. All right.
I think every race has
me.
won it at least once. The first one I came to in the win for halflings was a coach we mentioned before, Tara Baralla.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
One of his 2 Royal Rookie Rumble wins was with halflings.
I think we mentioned him in episode 1 when we talked about vamps.
And just to bring it full circle, the other one he's won one with was Lizardman.
Hey,
there you
go. It's like we'd planned that or something. We haven't, which is interesting.
So I'm a big fan of Royal Rookie Rumbles. I do think it's a great way of just dropping something in that is going to get a reasonably even challenge. I warn you, yes, they're not just for rookies. They're for rookie teams. There are 2 or 3 people seem to be seemingly with one in almost every Royal Rookie Rumble. And they seem to circulate what races go in. So there do seem to be some people that are trying to get a Royal Rookie Rumble title with each race. So you're certainly going to come up against some experienced tournament coaches, probably. But on the other hand, all sorts of people come into those because they see the name rookie, and lots of rookies drop teams in. Lots of people newer to FUMBBL but have played, for example, NAF tournaments would find that a more familiar format than perhaps one of the perpetual leagues.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what we'll do... Go on, Morehouse.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing with that.
Oh, okay, I was just going to say, what we'll do is we've talked about Royal Rookie Rumbles for a while, so we'll leave Barb rules until next time, because I want to spend some time delving into the SR rankings Purple Chest. So I know the history of them is, I know Adam fantastically spent hours and hours coding this program, and then with all the new GDPR stuff had to take it down. Then I think he's been working with Krista on bringing it, well, he has done, brought it over to host on FUMBBL itself. And I think it really added an extra level to the tournaments, because you could have another layer of, well, actually, where do I stand in terms of the other coaches and so on and so forth.
Yeah, sure.
What I like about it is also what I dislike about it all at once. No one asked him to do it. He chose some metrics that he decided were fair. He decided which tournaments were in and how much he would weight them. He picked a ranking system. He ran the numbers, and he came up with an enormous amount of data. Now, data is always interesting. Lists are always interesting. And I have to, declare a horse in this game, because the first time the lists went up, I was at the top of the main page.
Brilliantly done by Adam.
And that's very hard to sort of then stay completely objective about. So obviously I quite like them, because any list that features me prominently is likely to be something I like. But Absolutely. As I would say with all numbers, look, to me, numbers are like flowers. They're pretty. They're there to look at. We derive meaning from them. We shouldn't. We should derive pleasure from them.
Yeah, I think I think you can. There are some people that would say that the SR rankings are more, I don't know if accurate's the word, but more indicative of who's a good player than, say, coach ranking. There might be people that would say the opposite. I think both of them can tell you something about the coach, and they both can mislead you also. So they're fun to look at. Like you said, it's a cool thing. It's very nice of Adam to volunteer his time to do something like that for the site, and so you can't say anything negative about it from that perspective, because
anyone that brings something to the table that's put that much work in is always going to interest me, and I'll always read it and digest it and see what I can learn or glean from it. It brings pleasure and fun, and I hope that's what he means it to do.
Yeah, I've heard him say that he would like it to one day. His ultimate dream would be that it would one day become more of a standard than coach ranking. I'm not sure Krister would be on board with that, or that it would ever happen to where you'd go on your coach page and it would show your SR instead of your coach ranking. But like I said, I think they both can tell you something. They both have weak points and strong points as ranking systems. So yeah, I mean, take a look at yours, and like PC said, if you're ranked highly, you'll probably think it's a good system, and if not, you probably won't.
Yeah. Well, I won the FUMBBL Cup, and that's just come off because the points on the SR system come off periodically. And I was doing
Yes.
all right. I think at one point I was in the top 25, and now I'm nowhere near that because the FUMBBL Cup has come off.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are annual. Like when a major is finished, then the previous year's major, the points go away and they go to the new winner. So that's kind of, I've been following them a little bit recently, and that seems to be how it works, although I cannot pretend to know everything about how they work.
Yeah, I mean, I had a look at some of the maths and thought it all looked very pretty. So that's as much as I can comment on how it all works, really.
Yeah,
I think you're right. There's a decay system. It's based like a sort of year-long, like the tennis rankings sort of are.
yeah.
So I think that does mean once a tournament re-happens after a year, you lose those points. I think the
Yes.
most important thing to say about it is that there's a tab on it called Famous Coaches, and that's probably the most important list.
Well, if you're one to dwell in the past, maybe, but I would say that the current top list would be the one I would take a look at if I were advising anyone to.
So
What's happening now is always interesting, but a perspective over history, I think, is vital.
What I'm gleaming from this is that you two are pretty high on the list. I haven't.
Yeah, I'm the current number one, and PC's the all-time number one.
Well, I am top of the Famous Coaches list, on which, Morehouse, you're 113th. I did just check for you.
Yeah, I did take a 10-year break during the CRP era, so that probably cost me a few points.
Yeah, it is one of those rankings. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm rated so highly. I mean, I keep plugging away year after year, and occasional
Absolutely.
glimpses of sunlight on that length and schedule is what that seems to rate. So I've been up and down it. I've been at the top of the, what's happening right now, and I've been lower. And it's an interesting ranking system, and I like all ranking systems. I just don't think there's something to live by.
Yeah, I will say that something I have noticed watching it a little bit is if you're trying to follow yourself on there, I will tell you that you get about 1,000 points for winning a major, and you get about 100 points for winning, say, a smack or a brawl. So, like, I'm in the lead right now with like 3,000 or so. So if that gives you some perspective, if you're just starting today, if you win the next two majors and you win 10 smacks or bar brawls in the next year, you will be tied with me. So if you're wondering how it works, that's roughly the perspective of how you get points.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a serious splash and be, I'd have thought, in the top 10 by winning a major and a couple of minor tournaments. So within 2 or 3 months, you could be there if you're good enough and if you get the luck and the dice.
Yep, and you get a little bit more for FUMBBL Cup. I think it's like you said, it's like the tennis rankings where the more people in the tournament, the more points you get for it, I believe.
I think that's
right.
true, yes.
That's right. I mean, and the other side of it is you've got coaches like me who are, more than likely one of the best coaches in the world that don't have time to play the tournaments.
On the Famous Coaches list, I did check. You're ranked 98th, so
that's top 100. I'll take that.
Above Morehouse. But yes, it's in the top 100.
Cool, right. Well, we'll leave SR there. I wanted to talk about, actually, because at Tabletop, I want to talk about Tabletop just for a bit, because although FUMBBL is our baby, and we love to play on it, and we love the community and all of that, obviously the game started out as Tabletop, and I've played a lot back in the day, and I've just picked it up again. We're just about to start our 4th season. Mr. Joshua and a few other lads we know started a league. I've joined one at Warhammer World recently as well. I haven't played there yet. And I just wondered if you boys have played Tabletop. I know you have, PC, but what are your experience of it? And
I've been playing it this year. I played Blood Bowl back when the very first edition was made, but I haven't played anything since on a tabletop at all until January of 2019, when I took part in a 4-person team at the UK Team Championship 4 up in York with Jimmy Fantastic, Malmere, and our captain Pete W, or Pitu as the French know.
And so, just on touching on that, you're going again this year, aren't you?
Well, I'm hoping to. Since then, I've been to 3 other tournaments on my own to sort of broaden my base. So I now have 20 games of Blood Bowl played in my life. And I'm hoping out of the ashes of Team Fantastic, because that all fell apart, Pete W has turned on us and joined another team, or rather started another team.
I know. I spoke to him earlier.
With his son and some other fella and some of that other fella's son. So we're hoping that out of the ashes of Team Fantastic, Team Fumble will rise.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping to take a team of 4 at least up to UK Team Championship number 5 in York in January of 2019, which will be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. It will be fun. So what do you like about tabletop then, PC?
Well, it's playing Blood Bowl, and I like playing Blood Bowl.
Sure.
You meet, I mean, for me, I've met, particularly at that one, I met lots of coaches that I'd known on Fumble and I could finally put a face to. And lots of people that I'd got on well with in the various chat systems or in playing games. I was able to put faces to, and that's fun. It's kind of interesting just being in a room with 39 other people who all enjoy the same thing you enjoy. That's quite a buzz. Playing it in real life, it is very different. It is a different rule set, and it's a different challenge. And in a game I know and love so well, a completely different challenge is interesting.
Yeah,
and it gets me out of the house.
Yeah, I find that. I think playing in the league, going from Fumble to playing live with somebody that's sat opposite to you, it changes the dynamics slightly. I don't mean fully, because you still have that conversation usually, but there are games we have on Fumble that are completely silent, aren't there? And you can't do that with somebody sat opposite you. And there's
a little more uncomfortable anyway.
Yeah.
No, and you do get to see who's a good loser and who isn't, and who's a good winner and who isn't. And you know, you get to see people who have interesting ways of rolling the dice, and you've got to decide how much you care about that. And lots of skills transfer over, and lots don't. And there are some new things you need to learn. So, I mean, I still don't know the kickoff table well enough.
No, well, this is interesting.
I've played 5,000 times online. I still have to read a piece of paper when I roll the kickoff dice.
And it's interesting you say that, because I was talking to Mr. Joshua about going to York myself, and he was saying you're going to have to get your head around the rules again, because I became Mr. Automaton. Hey, everything's done for me, so I don't have to worry about it.
Well, and also sometimes you may be, I mean, particularly at that event, because it's one of the bigger events in the UK each year, and it's well attended by the international Blood Bowl community, you may well be sat playing a person who doesn't speak English. I mean, you know, when I was up there, I played a German team, I played a French team, and then I also played Geordies and Scottish people. So obviously there was a language barrier.
Especially with the Scots.
Yeah, don't let AD hear you say that.
Well, I mean, the Germans and French obviously spoke beautiful English, but so yes, I mean, there are times where there isn't sort of, you know, sitting down and discussing exactly how this rule is implemented. It's a tough thing, but there's some cheat sheets you can print off. I mean,
yeah, there is.
We all do basically know the rules. But if you want to have, you know, a couple of cheat sheets to hand, no one's going to mind. And there's always referees you can call over if you really don't know something or how something applies. You know, if suddenly someone pulls a bombardier and that's not a set of, you know, exactly how the dice should be rolled that you know, then you can always get someone to just check or tell you.
Okay.
And actually, because it's all people playing the same game and loving the same game, you know, most people are reasonably nice and reasonably helpful. I have met a couple of people that are real tryhards, but it's rare.
I got to get up for a second, guys. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, Morehouse. He's going to see a man about a dog.
I think one of the main dynamics that obviously changes is, of course, there is that other person sat opposite you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is a human being. And so even though you want to be ruthless and beat them, you're not going to, you know, you are going to sort of crack a joke as you do it, or at least smile or offer them a drink afterwards.
Yeah, and I think at the minute, with the re-release of Blood Bowl, there's not really a better time to get involved in tabletop. It's relatively cheap to buy for what you get.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Bowl has always been strong, but it suddenly did get reinvigorated. I mean, both the Cyanide game did bring a lot of new people in, and that shouldn't be undervalued. And then on the back of that, Games Workshop launched Blood Bowl 2016, and I think that brought more people back rather than bringing a lot of brand new people in.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, there are some people that moved over from other games. You know, when a couple of tournaments I've been to that are slightly lower key in London, I've met some people that are basically coming in from Warhammer 40k or from Age of Sigmar. And it's because other people in their club or that they play with have suddenly picked up Blood Bowl 2016 and said, "Oh, I haven't played this for 5 years. Let's give it a game."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think there is a slightly more reinvigorated scene out there at the moment, and the NAF seems to be getting its act together. The NAF, the Blood Bowl sort of governing body, or sort of.
Yeah, and
We
their
could do a
website's
whole
really good,
podcast on
and
just them and who they are.
yeah, and the online Blood Bowl league thingy that they have, that's really useful. I've managed to get into a league through that. And there's the Facebook Blood Bowl community. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, very strong.
So that's worth a look if you're not, because I didn't really know about it because I'm not on Facebook, but I've joined Facebook to actually look for models and stuff, and through that, hang on, Blood Bowl models. Let's just clarify that.
Yes, well, Facebook's a good way to look for the other type too.
I've managed to pick up another 2 human blitzers.
Yeah, we could do a long time on how to get figures for tabletop. That is one of the big barriers to entry, is that most tournaments do assume you're going to have not only a team, but a team that is painted to what's called a tabletop standard. So it doesn't have to be absolutely fantastically painted, but it is expected that it's using perhaps at least 3 colours, and that those are reasonably well put on. And what they call based, which means the base has to be either painted, to look like a pitch, or covered with grass or something like that. That said, some leagues and some tournaments will allow you to turn up with Lego and say this is who they are. So, check, because your mileage may vary. But certainly the more ritzy the tournament, the more likely they're going to insist on a properly painted team. Now,
Yeah, and
I
standards.
cannot paint. I just don't have the patience, the eye, the hand-eye coordination. I never could as a kid, and I still can't.
Well,
But by scouring eBay, I did manage to pick up some reasonably priced teams, by which I'm saying, sub 60 quid. But if you want to get one of the newer ones made by Games Workshop, they're reasonably inexpensive, but you do have to either paint them yourself or get someone to paint them. There are, on eBay particularly, there are painting services. And for about 120 quid, you can have a team of rats or a team of orcs or a team of humans or dwarves.
I'm just back. Is there any chance you could tell me what a quid is, PC?
A pound, which is nowadays the
£1
the equivalent
British
of a
sterling.
euro, and just about the equivalent of $1.
Okay.
So it
there
used to
we
be
go.
worth lots more, but now it's more. They're more or less all equivalent, aren't they?
Okay, sounds good.
So yeah, the teams are out there, but that is an expensive part of it. That said, most people, if you know someone, they'll always lend you a team to get you going, or to give you, at one tournament you can borrow a team for the entire tournament, because people are going to use one team for the whole tournament. In a league, that might be slightly harder, but if you just want to have a game, if you want to play on tabletop, I'm sure people will always lend teams out, because people want more people in the hobby, as they habitually call it,
Sure.
or playing the game, as non-cult members would probably describe it.
And there are some people that are. It was kind of strange to me when I started hanging out at the local game store a little bit and playing tabletop. There's a whole world of people out there that play very little Blood Bowl, but are very into collecting and painting teams. I met a gentleman at the local store who has like 6 or 7 fully painted teams with all the stars painted, and he's played, 20 games of Blood Bowl in his life. But
Yeah.
So it was a whole different part of the hobby that was kind of strange to me always playing online. That was kind of neat to see. And some people do an amazing job with them. It's really cool.
Back in the day when I was playing, I was in a tournament in Games Workshop in Lincoln in the UK, and I was with my friend who was Blood Bowl mad. He was the one that got me into it, and he had a particularly bad tournament. Ended up literally table flipping. Models went everywhere. He swore he'd never play again, and he hasn't. But he still collects the teams, still paints the minis, still has that. But he says he just can't play it again. His theory is,
I wish I could paint.
whoever rolls a one
Sure, it's a very
first
relaxing, very zen thing to do. But I'm very, very lucky. As I said, I've picked up several teams at very affordable prices, and your mileage will absolutely vary, because they can go for huge amounts on there as well.
Yeah, they can. Right.
And also, but I mean, to give you a flip side of the other end, I am paying to have a team done, and that's going to cost me in the hundreds of pounds. So I'm not going to give out an exact figure. And it's being done by a great artist whose work with little figures I much admire, and it will also be converted. But most people that paint, I mean, the ones online, as I said, you're going to cost about £100 for the painted figures. They're not going to be great, but they should be at a playable standard. The better ones, perhaps £300.
Yeah, and I think you have to be wary though of
4 or 5. You could even pay for one of the well-known artists.
Yeah, but be wary of the ones that say they're pro painted. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So we'll leave tabletop there. Thank you. I wanted to incorporate a bit of a shout-outs bit, because we said that we'd put a forum on FUMBBL, that if you wanted a shout-out for your league, you could do. And there is one on there which was about the Chaos Waste League. Now, the Chaos Waste League was devised recently. I think it was Vin Diesel, I think. And it is pretty much, it looks like a bit of a bash-heavy league, but it looks good fun, and I've heard good reviews about it. So if you want to look at a league to get into and you like chaosy stuff, then give them a shot. Right, just to finish off.
I mean, my eye was really caught by that when it was up on the forum. I thought it looked really good fun. I do think it's a slight missed opportunity. I'd love to have seen a league pulling all the chaos teams off the secret league, as well as the chaos teams out of the standard rule set. I think that could have been really interesting.
There you go. There's a little project.
He's basically thrown in everything that is in any way associated to chaos from the main squads. So it looks interesting. It looks fun. And people are always looking for leagues that are starting out where they'll get an absolutely fresh, clean slate with everybody else.
Yeah.
This one looks like it's going to be a goer, and it's definitely going to start, afresh.
Yeah, so it looks good. It looks good. Right, are you ready for your quiz then?
All right.
Right.
Ooh, go on. I'm not feeling
PC,
quick.
you are UK. Morehouse, you are US.
All right.
Okay.
Similar kind of questions, so you can kind of know what I'm going to say. So the first question. Give me the stat line for a human ogre.
US.
UK.
Oh, Morehouse first.
Is it 5529?
Correct.
It is.
Yes, correct. Well done, Morehouse. 1-0 to the US. Come on, UK. Come on.
Stop loading the questions here. Come on.
Question number 2. Name a star player that can play for Slan.
US.
UK.
Oh, it's Morehouse again.
Is Questal Leap or whatever that one
Yeah, well,
is pronounced?
I'll give you that.
And Sleebly, the lizard man one.
Yeah, you can play. Yeah, well done. I'm sorry, PC, you weren't there on this one. So
That's all right. I would almost certainly have said Silly Billy anyway.
I always used to pronounce it that way as well, but I looked. I think it is. Is it Sleebly? Did I say that right? I think it is.
I think so. Is it? I think that's 3-1 now, isn't it?
He's Silly Billy, but I think you're probably right.
Is it 3-1 to you, Morehouse?
I think
it's 2-0.
No, it can't
I
be
think
2-0.
I think the one I won, we didn't end up broadcasting.
No, you won last week, didn't you? Yeah, because we did the over-under on how many games Throw-X played, and you got that one. Yeah, I think it's 2-1.
But we've done 4 now. This is our 4th podcast.
I wasn't around for the first one. I was
Oh, no, you weren't. That's right, of course. So it is 2-1. Yeah, 2-1. I apologize.
Indeed, on that very day, I was diving a beautiful wreck on the south coast of Rhodes.
Oh, very nice.
Sounds more
very
fun.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for joining me again, boys.
Pleasure.
And hopefully see you again next week. Thank you for listening, everybody. Take care.
Yep, thanks for listening.